excited to have our first guest, because we're kicking off the evening with a spoken word performance. In a second, I'm going to bring out Mahmoud. Emmy is a Goodwill ambassador for the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, and it's an incredibly great timing given the money we're raising for Ukraine, and we're really excited to have her here, all about unlocking our empathy, building toward a better world. And so we're really excited to have her here. So here for a spoken word performance, please give it up for Mahmoud.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This poem is called Lessons Learned. In kindergarten, after they taught us to read and write, they told us we can change the world. They were right about reading. They were right about writing. And ever since then, those thoughts have been linked in my head, but they missed a few things about changing the world. Sand beneath my toes. I hear the Antonov planes overhead in the skies of Al-Fashir. They always came in pairs, stealing the sound from our throats, the time from our lives. I used to be afraid of fireworks because of the noise, how they echoed the sounds of gunshots I heard in Sudan and Yemen, how the lights mimicked what we knew of bomb blasts. Fearing the night is not nearly as terrifying as fearing the day. Do you know what it means when your oppressors don't have to hide behind the covers of night? They only hid behind the notion that no one would come for us, that no one would know, and if they knew, no one would care. This is the story of how everyone came to change and care. This is the story of how people like us take back the light every day and use it to illuminate the books we read and write. When I was young, I would visit family members, knowing full well that most of them I wouldn't see ever again. I would make memories, knowing full well that they could and often would be the last. My entire childhood was a race against time that was stolen from us, and in many ways, that race has never ended. Now, in the work that I do, we spend each day trying to reverse the effects of decades of neglect, centuries of structural violence, the barbs of inequality reaching deep fissures into the earth. Each moment I spend trying to catch my breath brings the fear of backward momentum crashing down on me. As if taking a break suddenly gives the world permission to course correct towards violence, teetering on the edge. Every moment you don't spend actively choosing good, you spend choosing something else. What will you choose? Here's what they missed about changing the world. It isn't a question of whether or not you can change the world. It's a question not of whether you can change the world, because people change the world every single day. It's a question of whether you'll change it for better or for worse. What will you choose? If we stop, then who will carry forward? If we don't push, then who will see our value? If not us, then who? These are the kinds of questions that echo through my mind in moments just like these, in rooms just like this one. When loss is chronic, the pain doesn't numb or diminish. It resonates across cultures, across contexts, across borders, across time. When we speak of people in abstractions and of suffering as only a concept and not an everyday lived experience, we begin to mask all that is dying to be known here, that there are people here in this moment, in this conversation, that there are people and the essays we write and the books we publish, that our people in the movements we champion, echoing across the halls that we study in and the boardrooms that we occupy, that our people and the investments that we make, that our people hidden in the language of academia, of profit, of change, that our people resting in the residues of empathy that we scrape from the very bottoms of the barrels of apathy that run this world, that our people in the conversations that are had when countries are deciding what to do about our lives, that our lives here in the tense and clotted air here in the trails of jet fuel, that our people on the wings of a promise. There were days in Darfur where the language of isolation cut across us almost as deeply as the language of genocide. The worst moment in our lives became a crisis. My aunts and uncles that I cherish became IDPs. The family members, my mother and father who kept us safe, became refugees. The generations upon generations of promise lost became casualties. I lost my family members once in the war and again in the language of protocol, in theories of conflict, theories of change. And the words would grow broader and broader, masking what's hiding in etiquette and precedent. And then it dawned on me. One day in college, I was reading a book that said, there are no minerals of value in Darfur. Darfur has no famous sons or daughters, no natural wonders or monuments to attract any but the most hardy of foreign visitors. And it said that news of Darfur came as if it were from a void. Well, I don't know what it means to be a woman speaking from the void, but I will and do answer them, and that is the answer. Every one of us here in this room is the answer. The moment that we are in the confluence of all of our empathies and our dedication, the meeting of our minds, this is the answer. How we push back and break down the language of oppression, how we take back abstractions and root progress in humanity, root change in fraternity, how we rehumanize every one of us who's been dehumanized. We are the answer as we take back the light and pave ahead a path full of promise, full and echoing with the voices that would be lost to time, pulling the earth back from a teetering edge as we succeed. Because there is no choice but to succeed. The future is impatient and it will wield to whoever gets there first. I want us. I want our common good to get there first. I studied science, but I choose poetry because it is the only way that I learned to survive, to take devastation and turn it into triumph, to take pain and weld the type of compassion we need to move forward into the vision of the future that includes all of us. I'm reminded now of a story my uncle told me in Paris in January. He said, I know that we're far apart, you and your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. I know that we've been tossed across the different corners of the world, but I like to think of us as constellations. Each one of you a beacon in my ceiling at night, connected forever. His words strengthen me now as we move forward into his vision of the world. A world where the only thing that lights up the sky is us. Thank you.